Hello, YouTubers and NFL fans everywhere. This is Matt, the NFL Fanatic, giving you my 2025-2026 Conference Championship Weekend predictions. Well, for the Fanatic this week, this was an awful week for my predictions, especially against the spread. For the first time in a very long time, I went winless against the spread. It was a tough weekend in that regard. You had two games go into overtime, Bills-Broncos, Rams-Bears. I got the Broncos game wrong completely outright off the game-winning field goal by the Broncos. And then Rams-Bears, the Rams won the game, but that half point gave me the hook, and I ended up losing that one because the Rams only ended up winning by 3. So thanks, Caleb Williams, for your big fourth down, crazy Patrick Mahomes-esque fourth quarter touchdown. It basically screwed me out of my only solitary win for the week against the spread. So overall, this week, though, it was a dreadful week against the spread and straight up. I went winless against the spread, 0-4, and straight up I went 2-2, 500. The only games that I was kind of frustrated with was the Pats and Texans, but when you have a quarterback like C.J. Stroud commit 4 first half interceptions, the first quarterback since 1970 to have 4 picks in a single half of football, there's really not much you can do about that, even though I would argue every other quarterback in the NFL with that Texan defense would have been able to win that game. So, but, for a divisional weekend, it was, for the most part, a very entertaining divisional weekend for the most part. Bills-Broncos, what a sensational game. Crazy that Bo Nix threw for almost 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, only 1 turnover. He did another fumble. He led the team in rushing, and the Broncos were able to put up 33 points off of the 5 turnovers the Bills committed, 4 by Josh Allen, 1 by James Cook, in an incredible back-and-forth game that actually is probably everyone has heard of by today. The Buffalo Bills have fired their head coach, Sean McDermott, and they are going to be looking for their new coach, which means that there have been 10 coaches fired this year, and with 2 openings already being filled by the New York Giants with John Harbaugh and the Atlanta Falcons hiring Kevin Stefanski. And then the Bills joined one of 8 openings for their job, and you would argue that the Bills' job is the second best opening available. Some people might argue it's the best opening available. That's a Josh Lamar kind of conversation. I'll let my viewers and people around the country and the world debate that. But that was an incredible game. I feel like for the Broncos, I do feel incredibly sad for Bo Nix and the Broncos to hear that Bo Nix broke a bone in his right ankle and that he's going to have surgery tomorrow on it, and he's going to be out for the rest of the season. That is an absolute shame because I thought Bo Nix played very well in his first playoff game, and he had earned the right to move up the quarterback ladder, and I think that the game against the Patriots would have been a lot more compelling with Bo Nix and Drake May, 2 quarterbacks in the 24 draft class going at it for the right to see who goes to Super Bowl 60. But the thing I want to mention, my big takeaway from that game is Josh Allen. As a Ravens fan with Lamar Jackson, and having people constantly talk to me about how Josh Allen is significantly better than Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen is better than Lamar Jackson, but the pressure and the expectations and the level of underachieving that both guys have done is the same. Josh is Lamar, Lamar is Josh. 2 incredibly talented, 2 incredibly accomplished quarterbacks of their era are the same exact guy in terms of nobody for the rest of their careers are going to care about what happens in the regular season, their accolades in the regular season, all the wins they get, even the wild card and divisional round games anymore. Nobody is going to care. They're going to care about, can you get to the conference title game, and can you win? Can you get to the Super Bowl? And I would tell everybody out there that for both of them, my answer would be no. Because for Josh Allen, the easiest road that he could have to a Super Bowl with no Patrick Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson, no Joe Burrow, the man couldn't get it done and was a turnover machine and ended up being a coach killer yet on yesterday. And I'm just like, Josh is Lamar. Lamar is Josh. Both fan bases, Raven fans and Bills fans, need to come to this reality that those guys are probably never going to get you to a Super Bowl, and you're just always going to have this thing of great talent but underwhelming result, which should impact their all-time great level status. for both teams. So. But also, shout out to Denver's defense causing all the turnovers. Even though Sean McDermott, sore loser Sean, yelling about the refs and the players and all that. It's like, what a great way for you to leave Buffalo looking like a sore loser. So, San Fran, Seattle, that one I was surprised by the margin of victory. Seattle really asserted their dominance on Saturday evening. It was right off the bat when Rashid Shaheed got the kickoff return and got it right down for a touchdown. Kenneth Walker had 3 touchdowns and over 100 yards. The Seahawks were up 17-0 for the Niners to get out of the blocks. They were just incredibly physically dominant. And for Mike Macdonald, and here's the biggest problem for Niner fans, where all the Niner fans, rightfully so, they could say, hey, we got Sean McVay's number. We can get on Sean McVay. What I would tell Niner fans is, you have a Mike Macdonald problem. 9 points the last 2 games, and I believe over the last 2 games, you've gained under 400 total yards against the Mike Macdonald defense. Like, what Mike Macdonald and John Schneider have built in Seattle is incredibly impressive, just in terms of the talent, the money roster construction, the money managing. It's a brilliant roster that John Schneider should be immensely credited and acclaimed for what he has done in Seattle to build this team that is 1 win away from getting back to the Super Bowl. And for San Francisco, look, they had a successful year, sensational year. Kyle Shanahan arguably should be coach of the year for basically taking all the rubber bands and duct tape and glue and any kind of conjoining substance you want to come up with to get them to this point. But the Niners every year just seem like, when you look at them, just for the litany of injuries, the odd contractual situations they're in, I feel like they're just never going to win a Super Bowl with this roster. Because there's just always constant injury, constant turnover. And I just think with Brock Purdy, as well as he's shown in moments to play, even with Shanahan's coaching, he just doesn't seem like a guy that will win them a title. He seems like a kneecap. That you get kneecapped and your ceiling gets lower. So, but shout out to Seattle, though. All my best to Mike. He's proven to be, one of the better coaches in the league. He's 1 win away from getting to the Super Bowl, which is insane. And for Sam Darnold, hey, you passed another test. I know people are going to argue he was not really under any pressure. He could have won the game, off doing nothing. And that is true. But Sam Darnold, I thought, managed the game well. He made a few good throws. He did have that one nice touchdown to JSN. And I think the Seahawks, should feel okay with them going into that game at home against the Rams in the biggest game of Sam Darnold's professional career. So, but there was that one. Texans-Patriots, that game, that was a incredible, awkward defensive game. Shout out to both defenses that forced, I believe, a combined 8 turnovers, 3 from New England, 5 from Houston, or 5 turnovers by the Texans, 3 turnovers by the Patriots. The biggest difference was also Drake May's legs, and that Drake May was able to make positive contributions with his arm, show the Keyshawn Booty throws or receptions in the middle of the field, or the touchdown on Derek Stingley, which was an incredibly impressive throw to throw that right down the right sideline. And C.J. Stroud and that offense not being able to capitalize on any of those mistakes. And real quickly, I just want to mention, C.J. Stroud is, to me, getting way over-criticized by the media over the last, 2 days. Here's the thing. C.J. Stroud, he had a terrible postseason. First quarterback in NFL history to have 5 interceptions and 5 fumbles in the same year. Though, again, to be fair, he only lost 2 of them, so he had 7 turnovers the last 2 playoff games. Had a horrific, dreadful, abysmal, any negative word postseason. I agree with that. But all of these media figures just talking about, well, CJ's not a franchise quarterback. We got to be really nervous about paying a franchise quarterback. He's not one. The Texans need to think about moving on from him. Do we want to continue with C.J. Stroud? Guys, everybody out there, he's better than a lot of other people. Justin Herbert has played 3 postseason games, including one against C.J. Stroud, and they paid him $52 million. And I would tell you, Justin Herbert, the Chargers made a mistake extending Justin Herbert. They did. The Chargers made a mistake extending Justin Herbert, and I would get crucified if I wrote an article on an established website, ESPN, Bleacher Report, CBS Sports, Fox. I'd get crucified for that. But I think that's an incredibly fair point. The Chargers need to find another quarterback. What about that? That's a fair point, too. Just because Justin Herbert hasn't done anything. He's been exactly what they think C.J. Stroud is. But because C.J. Stroud has 2 horrific games, even though, again, he's been to the playoffs 3 times and has 3 playoff wins, 3 more than Justin Herbert, 1 more than Dak Prescott, 1 more than Lamar Jackson, we're going to look at that and go, oh, yeah, that guy, he can't be the quarterback of the Texans. He's not a franchise quarterback if you think about it. Just absurd. Like, is C.J. Stroud a kneecapper? Yeah, I think C.J. Stroud might be a kneecapper. Where a couple years ago, where I thought C.J. could lift the franchise and you could basically throw anything together, and C.J. could, maybe get you to the end regardless of what he had around him. That's not true anymore. I think C.J. is more of a kneecap. But he's Brock Purdy. He's Trevor Lawrence. He's Jordan Love. He's Jared Goff. He's Justin Herbert. These are quarterbacks that you can just watch their ability. You can watch their play. They're good quarterbacks. But their ceiling is limited. That if you pay them the extensive amount of money, you will never get a title. But if you were telling me he doesn't deserve that, look at Jordan Love, look at Justin Herbert, look at Trevor Lawrence, look at Tua, look at all these guys that got paid all that money. And you cannot tell me that C.J. Stroud is definitively worse than any of those guys. You may have your preference, and you may say, hey, I like this guy better, but all these guys are better than C.J., but you can't say definitively that it's that kind of clash for me with C.J. And if I was Texans, I couldn't wait. Or C.J. Stroud has every right to say, hey, I deserve a $61 million contract because I am better and I am in the league of those other quarterbacks that got paid. Because that's what it is. So, and for the Patriots, job well done. 7-0 in their last 7 divisional games. And again, this is the first conference title game since 2018. It is remarkable that in a 2-year span, you went from Bill Belichick to Mike Vrabel with basically most of the same, I think there are like 13 guys left from the Belichick regime, but still, that is amazing that in 2 years, the Patriots are almost 1 game away from getting back to another Super Bowl, which I think is insane. It's an incredible turnaround by Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels and that staff to get them to this spot. But hey, to the victors go the spoils, and shout out to New England, and for everybody like Colin Cowherd, the big Mike Vrabel and Drake May fans, job well done. I did not think that Mike Vrabel could lead a team back to a conference title game. So. And then Rams-Bears, that was an incredibly epic game. Caleb and the Bears were aggressive majority of the game. And actually, Ben Johnson was pretty aggressive throughout the entire season, the entire postseason with all the 4th downs he went for. I think he was a bit too aggressive. He got bailed out by the Packers' ineptitude through all his aggressive plays. The first game, the second time, he was not bailed out due to the aggressive play. I thought Caleb Williams made a lot of good plays. He might have made a lot of good decisions. Colston Loveland is an incredible tight end. But Caleb Williams, fun little fact, boys and girls, Caleb Williams also threw 5 interceptions in the playoffs. But nobody's talking nearly as negatively as maybe they should about Caleb Williams' bad decision-making. Because yesterday, he cost him that game with those 3 turnovers he had. With those 3 picks he had. They were not tip balls. They weren't caroms. They weren't through receivers' hands. He threw 3 terrible interceptions that literally cost the Bears the game. And Ben Johnson, through his aggressive calling, he was 1 for 4 on 4th down. He had a field goal at the end. The Rams lost by 3. And you never know if you had those 3 extra points, what could have happened. But I guess I would tell you this. If there is a difference between Caleb Williams and C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams on that 4th down throw, which was the throw of the year, the throw of Caleb Williams' career, that's a play that basically gives Caleb maybe the edge. Because Caleb has shown you routinely in all these clutch moments that he can make those big throws and runs that C.J. just feel like hasn't been able to. But Caleb Williams' bad decision-making and awful decisions and turnovers, just like C.J., should be criticized more, and rightfully so. Because Caleb Williams does have a turnover problem. A bit like C.J., or very much like C.J. Stroud. But nobody's going to talk about that. I will. And you should talk about that, but nobody's going to talk about that. And I just wanted to bring that up for people. If you watch the games and look at the numbers. Just food for thought. And for the Rams, job well done. You were able to efficiently grind through a game. Stafford didn't have any turnovers. They definitely missed on some odd chances. And the odd thing that I couldn't understand on the last drive was why were you throwing the ball after you had Puka Nacua get the 3rd down? Why did you try to have 2 more shot plays? I would have just ran the ball 3 times either counter for, just so I get more yards for the kicker to make it. Also, shout out to Stafford, 55 fourth quarter or game-winning drives, most in the league since 2009. And Sean McVay gets his third come-from-behind win in the playoffs, which is the most currently active in the NFL's. Well, and the Rams, look, they've had the roster, they've had the talent, they have probably the MVP of the league. Job well done to them in that way. So, all right, but just got to go into the games. Time for my quick picks here and thoughts on the conference championship weekend. I also do want to say before I get into that, my Super Bowl 60 video, will likely come out next Thursday. Next Thursday or Friday, I will give my Super Bowl 60 prediction, and the week after that, I will do my wrap-up video. I'll let people know when I have it, and then we will be done for another year. And I will tell everybody my early Super Bowl 61 prediction. It's going to be hard to believe we're going to be another year in, but I will tell everybody in a couple weeks my very early Super Bowl 61 prediction. But, all right, so time for my picks, though, time for my picks and recap. So, again, against the spread and straight up, 0-4 against the spread, incredibly disappointing. Straight up 2-2. So, overall, for the playoffs, I am now 4-6 against the spread. Straight up, I am now 6-4. So, 40-60. So, definitely disappointing to have an 0-4 against the spread week after starting out 4-2. And straight up, still above 500, but basically an underachieving year. Kind of hits underachieving numbers. And against the spread, straight up for the year, through 282 games, I am now 130, 147-5 against the spread. And straight up now, I'm 179, 102-1 straight up. That equals 47% against the spread. And straight up, it equals 63.7% straight up. So, definitely not terrible. Below 500 against the spread. That's what I've been most of my time doing. These spread picks straight up, 64%. A little bit below my yearly average. So, a little disappointing. But with 3 games to go, hopefully I can go 3-0 to finish the year. All right, but time for my picks. So, on Saturday, first at 3 o'clock, when the AFC Championship, when the number 2 seeded New England Patriots travel to Denver, take on the number 1 seeded Denver Broncos. New England Patriots are 5-point favorites in this game. Give me New England here -5, and New England straight up. And then on Sunday, in the actual maybe best game of the weekend, for the NFC Championship, when the number 5 seeded Los Angeles Rams go to Seattle, take on the number 1 seeded Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks are 3-point favorites in this game. In an upset here, I'm going to take the Los Angeles Rams +3, and Los Angeles Rams straight up. So that means the Super Bowl 60. My Super Bowl 60 prediction is going to be the New England Patriots taking on the Los Angeles Rams. A rematch of the Patriots' last Super Bowl and a rematch of the Patriots' first Super Bowl under Belichick. There's so many parallels. That's crazy, like in this scenario. I think it's going to be, fun to see. All right, but time for my quick thoughts on each game. The New England Patriots over the Denver Broncos. I am taking New England here. It's very simple. I probably would have taken Denver if Bo Nix played. But with Bo Nix being out, I just think the Patriots are better. Like when you look at the Broncos with Jarrett Stidham, he's going to be one of 4 quarterbacks to have this late of a start for his first start of the year. And I just think, again, Jarrett Stidham, Mr. Spark Man that was not the spark. I look at this game and go, there is no way with Drake May's ability, with the defense the Patriots have, with just all the things the Patriots have going for them defensively. They had Milton Williams in there. The Broncos really couldn't get a running game going against the very weak Bills run defense. I just think when you look at it, Jarrett Stidham, and I know, look, there was an executive I was reading earlier that believes that Jarrett Stidham could play better than Bo Nix. I think that's incredibly disrespectful to Bo Nix. Jarrett Stidham's been in the league for 4 or 5 years. And remember, people, Jarrett Stidham was drafted by the Patriots, and Josh McDaniels picked him up from the Raiders. If there's anybody in the league that knows Jarrett Stidham better than Sean Payton the last couple of years, it's Josh McDaniels. So they'll be clearly prepared and ready to confuse and irritate Jarrett Stidham with the Patriots defense. Zach Kerr, who has been the Patriots defensive coordinator, has done a sensational job, and it's been very underrated about how he's done since Terrell Williams was supposed to be the defensive coordinator to deal with prostate cancer, from the beginning of the year. And, fortunately, I've heard he's okay and gone back. But this pick just became that easy with the injury to Bo Nix. I think, is Sean Payton going to coach up Jarrett Stidham? Well, sure. But I just think, look, they can't really run the ball. The Patriots' run defense has been incredibly stout, especially Will Williams coming into the game. The Texans really couldn't run the ball. The Chargers really couldn't run the ball. If the Broncos can't run the ball and you're relying on Jarrett Stidham to throw it 30 or 40 times, and if Drake May just kind of can make a few more plays, because I feel like the turnovers, even if Drake turns it over, because Drake's had about 6 or 7 turnovers, but it's where the turnovers are even, because I think the Pats can cause turnovers on Denver, just like Denver can cause turnovers on Drake May. If the Denver offense can't capitalize on those turnovers, I just think Drake May with his legs, his arm, and just the ability of the Patriots players with the weapons they have, they should be able to win due to the play of Drake May over Jarrett Stidham. And again, Pats-Broncos, look, the Pats and Broncos, they've had a really unique history together, and New England for the longest time under Brady was a very tough place for Tom Brady to go into Denver and win games. Drake May's never been in Denver. Drake May doesn't have that stigma. Drake May doesn't have this kind of feeling. But I just feel like as you watch Drake May go up against this kind of Denver team that showed its flaws and its ups and downs, and the Bills showed you can move the ball on the Broncos defense. I think if the Pats offensive line can hold up and Drake May doesn't have as many turnovers, or Drake May can kind of play a similar game against Texans where you can just make more positive, progressive plays compared to negative ones, I think the Patriots have this game pretty handily, and the Patriots go on to Super Bowl 60. Should be a very interesting one because, again, Denver has defense, Denver has talent, Denver has Sean Payton, and the trust in Jarrett Stidham blindly enough anyway. But for the non-Spark band, for Stid Row and non-Spark of Jarrett Stidham, Drake May is just better, more talented, more athletic. And I think the Pats defense is going to cause a lot more issues for Denver than Denver's will for New England. So that's why I think New England here -5 and New England straight up. And lastly, the Los Angeles Rams over the Seattle Seahawks. This was incredibly tough because Seattle was at home. They came off the huge comeback last time. Sam Darnold has over the last 2 years, he's 24-4 against everybody he's played. Against the Rams, he's 1-3. He averages about a 108 quarterback rating against everybody else in the league. Against the Rams, it's a 74. He's had 6 interceptions against the Rams in 2 games. And he also had the game against the Rams the year before where he just looked awful when he was with the Vikings. And I know Seattle, it's different. They're rested. They're at home. Their defense has been humming. And the Rams defense has shown you through their secondary that they can be weak. They have flaws. They have issues. But the reason why I'm going with the Rams is it's Stafford and Darnold. And I do not expect Sam Darnold to play a bad game. But you could argue Sam Darnold, yes, on Saturday, like I said earlier, was a rider. He didn't have to do a lot. But to Sam's credit, he has a playoff win, which to me automatically means he's better than Justin Herbert. But all my viewers out there that want to yell or that's true though. He is better than Justin Herbert. But I digress. But Sam Darnold has not had a playoff game where he's had to play in high leverage spots. But to be fair though, Sam Darnold in the biggest games of his career, he has been able to now go 3-0 in the last 3 big games of the regular season and postseason. But I just think the Rams, they know. They're going to have Devontae Adams back. They have Quinn Lake back. Cameron Curl's incredibly good. I think the Rams know. They know that they should have been able to beat the Seahawks, and they should have been able to just glide into the number 1 seed. And the Rams just basically let that game go away. And also, Mevis, the only missed kick he had all year was that 48-yard field goal he had back in Week 16. But when I just look at both these teams, I am just going to go with the experience and the belief in Sean McVay and Matt Stafford to win this game with the rosters they have. I think the Seahawks have probably better talent. I think the Rams have better coaching, and the Rams just have better experience. And I think in this moment, when you're in this environment, in this circumstance, even though McDonald and Darnold will have all the home field energy at night or an evening game in Seattle, I think that the Rams, with their experience, will be able to find a way to get Sam Darnold to make a mistake or two that lets the Rams win this game. Because, again, if you look at their statistics, the Rams and Seahawks, basically, the 2 games they played each other, were basically identical. They basically played identical games against each other both times and collectively. So I'm not going to be surprised at all if Seattle wins this game. I think Seattle, personally, has a better roster than the Rams. But when you have just differences in that small, I just think the Rams, they're motivated. They know they should have beaten Seattle both times. And I just think the Rams, they know what they have as roster. They know what they have construction-wise. And I just have a lot more faith in the Rams to just grind out or make simple decisions that Sam Darnold, this time around, they're not going to be able to blow a 14-point lead like they did before with 6 minutes to go. I think the Rams will be tighter, be more disciplined, and more constructive and constrictive than I thought they did Week 16. And I think the Rams grind out a tough win because I think Darnold makes one or two more mistakes, just like Caleb did, where Stafford just plays an efficient game or makes one fewer mistake that lets the Rams win this game. Because Sam Darnold did have 20 turnovers this year throughout the year, which is, kind of a hidden number for Sam that many people forgot to realize. But that's why I like the Los Angeles Rams here, +3, and the Los Angeles Rams straight up. But that is it. So those are my picks for this week. Like, comment, rate, and subscribe. Please check out the NFL YouTube Prognosticators page. And until next Thursday, everyone, good luck to all players, coaches, teams, and fellow prognosticators. And until then, everyone, this is Matthew Fanatic signing off. Until then, everyone, so long.